About this game is that it's an ordering game, but we also got to keep track of whether they're summarized or not, right? We're cool with that. So that makes it a hybrid game. So first rule, no two books are summarized consecutively, so we can't have S, right? If N is not, both R and T are, so if N is not summarized, then R is summarized and T is summarized. Doesn't have anything to do with order. N is earlier than T. Okay, well, N is earlier than T, which is earlier than O, and F is discussed earlier than O, so F comes before O, but O comes before K and R. This right here is actually really nice, because that's all of the variables, right? So what does this force to happen? O's got to be fourth, so you can write in O here. K and R have to come after it, so we can write K and R here. Put an arc because we don't know their order, and then we have the N, T, F floater combination up here. Okay, in terms of summarized or not, we don't really know anything. We just have to make sure to avoid consecutiveness. Which ones do we want to talk about? Mike, you said you had one, or 14?
14.
Okay.
16. 14
and 16. So let's start with 14. If O is summarized, which of the following cannot be true? So 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Okay, so we have O and 4, and they're saying that O is summarized, right? Then we have K and R going back and forth here. So the thing we have to watch out for is, of course, is the consecutive summarization. Do we have to worry about whether K and R is summarized?
No.
Not
Because either one of them can be depending on their position.
Yeah, because it can like move, right? And so I'm not so worried about that right now. Now, of course, if either one of them is not summarized, then N would have to be summarized, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But we have, let's see, which one following cannot be true? F is the first book discussed. What do you think?
Yeah, that can be true.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with summarization, right? So what I think I'm going to do is gravitate towards those that deal with summarization. So C, D, and E do. So C, F is summarized. Okay, what happens if F is summarized? Now F is actually our floater up here, right? So F can go anywhere. So F would have to be either first or second, right, to avoid summarization.
Mm-hmm.
If it is, oh yeah, regardless, so we have N and T left, right? So if F is first, then N becomes second, and if F is second, then N becomes first. Either way, it's next to it, so it's then not summarized. And if it's not summarized, then who is? R and T are summarized. R is not a problem because we can keep it away from O, but T, if it's now summarized, it's going to be next to O. It doesn't matter how we do F. T is going to end up being third, and then it's going to be next to O. So that doesn't work.
Okay.
That was a slow okay. Is that a real okay?
I think it's an okay that'll get there.
But so what part are you hesitant about, Kayla?
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just not thinking as quickly as you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's the answer.
Get it.
You see why A and B are definitely out right away.
Yep.
Cool. So then it's just a matter of testing these last ones. One thing you can either do is try to force C to happen, which you can't. Or if you feel like, I don't see it, then try D and E. The thing about K not being summarized is there's no rule about K.
Yeah.
So that just doesn't matter. And for E, N is not summarized. We've actually, I think, seen that before. So we just have to look back at a previous diagram. Look at when, in 13, N was not summarized. And that wouldn't have worked because I think N was second. But if we could have moved N first, then we could have allowed O to be summarized as well. Yes, Will.
Can you go over real quick the summarization rule?
So you can't have two summarizations next to each other. And the only other thing we have to keep in mind is if N is not, then R and T are. Which means that if either one of them is not, then N is. Okay. What was the other one in here? 16? Is that what you said?
I said
16, Kelly. Okay. Oh, a substitution rule. Wait, were there 2 substitutions in this?
Yeah, there were 2.
Cruel and unusual punishment. So what we're getting rid of is we're getting rid of F, O, K, and R, right? We have to replace that. So, do you guys remember what's wrong with the wrong answers? They're either too weak or too strong. Answer choice A, T is discussed third. What's wrong with this?
F can be just
Hmm?
F can be just third.
F could be third, right? So T does not, this is too strong. B, T is discussed earlier than F. I mean, I know there's more to this answer choice, but when I read T is earlier than F, does that have to be true?
no.
No, like F is just somewhere before O, and N and T are somewhere before O.
Yeah.
So F and T don't really have a relationship to each other. So when it says T is earlier than F, I'm thinking that's going too far. It's too strong. K and R are among the last 3 books discussed. Oh, that's true. That had to be true. It had to be among the last 3. It was actually the last 2, but it does have to be among the last 3. So this is not going too far. It kind of feels like it's going to be too weak, though, right? Because it's the last 2, not just the last 3. Then it says F is among the first 3. This never talks about O. O could go anywhere. Not strong enough. So this soup or this porridge is too cold. The first 2 were too hot. Okay, D. K and R are discussed in consecutive weeks, not necessarily in that order, and O is 4th. Well, if that's true, then O goes here, K and R go back and forth here, and then F is basically anytime up here,
Okay.
but that's the
yeah,
same.
I had it down between D and E.
Oh, E. K and R are discussed consecutively. Okay, great. Not necessarily in that order, and F is discussed third. Ooh,
Is that too strong?
too strong. The porridge was a little too hot there, because F could have been anywhere.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about like simulating the exact same conditions.
Yeah.
Because this substituted would still mean that F comes before O, and then O still comes before K and R.
Yeah, one way to
Possibly.
think about this is actually in terms of necessary and sufficient.
Okay.
E is sufficient, but
Okay.
not necessary.
Yeah.
It recreates a rule, but it goes too far.
Okay.
We're looking for something that's perfectly sufficient and necessary. All right, any other questions on this game? Okay.